from Doggy U, and today we're talking all about raw feeding and raw dog food. Whether you're interested in switching from kibble all the way to raw, or you just want to incorporate a little bit more raw dog food into your diet, I'm here today with Nina from Oma's Pride. We're gonna be answering your questions, and we're so excited to get started. Make sure you stay tuned to the end where I'm going to reveal a really good discount on this awesome food. So let's get started. So one of the questions that we got from the viewers was, is it actually safe to feed dogs raw food and to handle it ourselves?
Right, absolutely. Common question. You might be worried about harmful bacteria like Salmonella, E. coli, Listeria, but rest assured we do go through a natural process called bacteriophaging that mitigates harmful bacteria such as Salmonella, E. coli, Listeria without disrupting the integrity of the food. But you should practice good general food hygiene, wipe down your counters, clean your bowls after they eat, and just stuff like that.
That seems reasonable to me.
You know?
Just having a clean kitchen, that's good. So one of the questions that I've had in the past, and was also a question from the viewers, was how do you know you're feeding your dog a complete diet, that they're getting everything that they need when you feed raw?
Absolutely, I get what you're saying. And so we do have a full product line of our complete recipes. So we have our chicken, turkey, beef, lamb, and they have all the added vitamins and nutrients that your dog needs for a complete meal. So you can feed them those and not worry to feed anything else because they're getting everything that they need. We also have some of our signature mixes, which are more so designed to be fed in rotation. So you're gonna rotate proteins every week, feed a different protein, and that'll make sure they're still getting what they need.
Yeah, I love those because I feed Kongs all the time with my dogs and Topples, and I rotate which proteins they're getting because they also like to have variety just like us.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah. So once you've decided that you wanna feed raw completely for your dog, like how do you know how much you're going to feed them?
Totally. So for our food, we actually do have a feeding calculator on our website. You can go right over there, put in your dog's weight, whether you want to maintain weight or lose weight, you can kind of adjust your goals, and then it's going to give you a total breakdown of how much they need by ounce, by pound, how much they'll need per day, per week. For example, like a small dog, 25-pound dog needs about 8 ounces of food a day, and that'll be about like 3 to 4 pounds a week. Okay. So they'll give you that whole breakdown. It's really helpful.
Awesome. So we know how much we want to feed if we're going to feed totally raw, but what if you're, you want to feed partially raw? Maybe you want to have kibble still in the diet. Maybe you train with kibble. I travel a lot, so it's easy for me to have both my raw in my freezer and then also have like a kibble to fall back on if I'm gone for a long time. Is that a possibility?
Absolutely. So we love to say here at Oma's that any raw is better than no raw. So you can totally feed kibble and raw. So how you're going to figure that out is that you can go over to our feeding calculator online and calculate however much you would need per day, per meal.
So say you want to feed like 50% raw, 50%.
Exactly.
Okay.
So say you want to feed 50% kibble, 50% raw, you calculate how much raw you would need, cut that number in half, calculate how much kibble you'd need per meal, and then cut that in half, and now you have your 50% raw, 50% kibble, feed those together, and there you go.
Perfect. That's awesome. And the other thing, I like to tell people is you should be putting hands on your dog. So you should be touching your dog, making sure that their weight is good on a weekly basis so that if, maybe you're adding too much kibble to the diet or whatever, and you want to cut back on that so you can kind of keep them at a healthy weight, not just go by what's on the package, right?
Absolutely.
Like, you want to know what your dog looks like.
So. Always check to see what they're doing.
Yeah. So once someone's decided to feed raw, maybe they're still on a fully kibble diet, how do they switch over to raw feeding?
Right, so there's really two methods. There's gonna be the cold turkey method and the gradual method, but we recommend doing the gradual method. So how the gradual method works is you start with 75% of the current food that you're feeding and 25% raw. So feed that for 5 days, and then with the next 5 days, you do 50% raw, 50% current food, and then do that for 5 days. And then in the next 5 days, you're gonna switch to 75% raw and 25% of the current food. And after that 5 days, you're home free. So now you can go to raw diet.
2 weeks.
2 weeks.
2 weeks you can switch over.
That's it.
Awesome.
Yeah. So it's gradually just changing over to the raw food.
Awesome. So along the same lines of switching over is, can you just feed a little bit of raw and feed a primarily kibble diet? And also in that same line of, thinking is, can you feed raw and kibble at the same time? Like, do they have to be in separate meals?
So short answer is yes, you can feed them in the same bowl together. It is a myth that you couldn't mix them together. So yes, go ahead and feed a little bit of kibble, a little bit of raw. So yes, people might feed a primarily kibble diet, but they can also use duck necks or sardines for more of that enrichment in their diet.
Yeah, my dogs love, like even a long time ago when I was feeding primarily kibble, they love to chew on like a turkey neck, or they, you know, like I've said, I stuff the raw meat into a bunch of different toys, and I was doing that when I was feeding more kibble a long time ago as well, because it's pretty easy to combine them and give the dog a little bit of extra enrichment with their meal.
Absolutely. Any raw is better than no raw.
So another question from the viewer is when they could switch their puppy over. Is there a certain age the dog has to be before they can start feeding raw?
So no, there's not a specific age. You can feed puppies raw. We actually have a few breeders that feed raw, recommend raw. We'll send them home with some raw. Just make sure you switch them over gradually, but there is really no specific age.
Great. So another viewer question was, is feeding raw equivalent to feeding freeze-dried, or is there something lost in that dehydration process?
Right, so there's always a little bit something lost in that process, but it's not nearly as much as a high heat process.
Okay.
The other thing you're losing is hydration. So when you're feeding freeze-dried, you have to remember that you're just losing that hydration aspect of feeding a raw diet.
Yeah, so they've got to make sure that they rehydrate if they are using freeze-dried food.
Yes.
Yeah. So what are some good toppers or supplements that are going to help a dog with their skin or their coat or their digestion?
Right, so for skin and coat health, you're really going to want to add some omega-3 fatty acids, vitamin A to their diet. So you can get that from foods like salmon, sardines, salmon oil. So we actually have our skin and coat bundle, which includes a whole bunch of these things that have omega-3 fatty acids, like sardines, our ground ocean blend, ground salmon, salmon oil, beef organ rounds, and turkey organ meat.
And I know that with Jake, I feed him your Digestive Performance, and that seems to keep his stool really good and him like super healthy because he's like turning 15 this year. So he's been having that for a really long time. So that's really good for his stomach. Is there anything else?
Yeah, so for digestion, I would always recommend tripe. Tripe is really great. It's like, we like to say, nature's closest thing to a probiotic, but it's really good for digestion. It's smelly, but it's really good for them.
Yeah, I know that it is stinky, but do you have that in your new portion packs? So like I could open a small amount of it and not like an entire like 5-pound container of it and limit the stinkiness?
Yes, exactly. So we offer it in our portion packs. You can also get 8-ounce portions of the tripe, and you don't need a whole big one. You can just kind of add a little bit.
I love that. My husband will also love that.
Yeah.
So if someone wants to switch to a raw diet, what can they expect as far as pricing? Because, you know, knowing how much it costs to feed your dog is always important. So what does it cost to feed a fully raw diet?
So a 25-pound dog will need about 8 ounces of food a day. And with our new portion packs, they are exactly 8 ounces. So your dog will need one of those a day. We have our, for example, wolf turkey recipe. So it's offered in a 3-pound bag and a 6-pound bag. Needing 8 ounces of food a day, you'll need the 6-pound bag will last you like 2 weeks about. And so breaking that down day by day, you would really only be spending $3.60 a day on raw food.
So that seems really reasonable.
It's really not too bad, you know, kind of like a coffee.
And it's all done for you, so you don't have to like make decisions about the feeding.
Exactly.
So that's
it's a
really
complete recipe. You can feed that and not worry about what they're getting.
Cool. And so we have this really awesome offer for those of you who stayed till the end of the video. I actually have 30% off your first order. I'm gonna drop the link down below. Yes, it's an affiliate link. So I want you to check it out. You can get this awesome food, 30% off, first order. Take advantage of it. It will be down in the comments. Thank you so much, Nina, for coming and doing this with us. We had so many questions and I hope we answered all of them. If you have more questions, go ahead and drop them down in the comments. If you just want to say how awesome Nina is for coming on the channel and doing this, she would love that feedback as well. So, all right, everyone, you all have an awesome day and happy training.